know the video says it's starting, so instead of just looking at nothing, I'm hoping that you guys are seeing me. So, today's talk. What happens when we spiritually progress? Well, that choice is ours. Before we get into the talk, I wanted to touch base with a couple of things. I wanted to let you know that yes, we do have Spirit Circle tomorrow. So that's from 1 to 3. Brother Francis will be doing his meditation series, the Creative Path meditation series, from 11:30 to 12:30. If you haven't had a chance to take one of his meditation classes, you really want to think about it, because he didn't get to be this gentle spirit because he was running around angry and pissed off at people. He has learned quite a lot and has loads to share. So if you have time tomorrow, pop in, come and see him. He's awesome. He's also going to be teaming up with myself and Nikki Bruton Phillips. We're going to be doing a 8-week workshop for families, and we'll talk more about that later. We're going to do an interview. The 3 of us are going to be online on Friday, so I'm hoping that you'll watch. I'm sorry, not Friday. We're going to do it on Wednesday. I apologize. I'm a little discombobulated today. I got all the way here. I was all set to set up. I had some work I needed to do, and I forgot my charging cord for the computer, so I had to run home. So I flew back in the center, and now I'm ready to go. At the Psychic Fair, we have Brother Francis, Susan Zumo, Rosie Navarra, Donna from Dominion Tarot, myself as readers. We have Tracy Whittet. She'll be doing transmosis healing. You can find the link for her in the post that I made, so scroll down to the bottom somewhere in the group. Tina will be doing color healing. If you haven't had a chance to have a healing from Tina, she's really, really good. Let's see, we have the rummage sale. And with the rummage sale, we're selling some great confectionery, dream making stuff, and other items of household interest. We'll also have Cheyenne with her art, so get ready for Christmas kind of stuff. She'll be doing art and jewelry and earrings. And we will also have William, who is going to be selling his honey, as well as some other of his artistic endeavors. So we really look forward to seeing you guys. I'll have the Healy here, and also we have a new addition to our healing group. We have Tommy Diamond, who's going to be coming in on Sunday to do Reiki. He hails from Dallas, Texas, and he told me he's a paleontologist, and he brings in some of the greatest rocks and crystals imaginable. He's retired from that now. Sorry, my allergies, my throat's been a little scratchy. Okay, so let's get on with SWANDA. I'm so glad to be here. I got to tell you, it's been kind of a 3 months of really digging deep, and if I couldn't get deeper, I grabbed another shovel and I went more. And I've been really working at trying to bring out some things, because that's what Pluto retrograde is all about. That's what this time is about, and that's really going in and making sure that we are in our integrity, where we are spiritually. There's an old saying in AA: "You take you with you when you go." And when my mom first got sober, she would tell me, she watched all these people. They would break up relationships, and then they would find the same relationship. She said they'd move, they'd do all these different things trying to change their life. But the problem was the one thing they had in common was them. And that's what's meant by you take you with you when you go. So, this blended really well into my metaphysics. I happen to think that the 12-step program that's offered, if it's followed correctly, is a very spiritually unfolding opportunity. I think anything can be, because oftentimes when you hit bottom, you really go through that dark night of the soul and you have to confront your demons. What are you really afraid of? Is it that you're afraid somebody's going to yell at you? Are you afraid somebody's going to be angry at you because you didn't do what they wanted you to do? You know, and then with that fear, we create the scenario, the counter scenario. We blame them before they even have a chance to blame us or to yell at us or to condemn us or judge us, because it's our guilt speaking. You know, if there was no guilt, if we knew we were in our integrity and we knew we were handling life in our accord, we would be doing some really miraculous things. With that being said, there is so much of an opportunity to work together. Now, oftentimes, because we get on the defensive, we blame our parents, we blame the fact that we're not educated, we blame our job, our boss, our friends, our neighbors, our co-workers. We blame the dog. We blame just about everybody instead of taking ownership. And this is the reason we have to take ownership. Is everything that's done is what we have created by our decisions. I will tell you, my decision to walk out the door this morning while engaged in a business call was the reason that I left my cord. And I know better than to do this, but that's the reason I left my charging cord, which was the reason that I then had to go all the way back, get here, and be situated by noon. So did I break laws? Probably I sped a little too much. I could have caused harm, which is, thank God I didn't, but I would have had to accept ownership of the fact that I did not plan well this morning and I allowed myself to get distracted. Well, that's a lot of like our 3D world is. It's, you know, we can only live in the higher consciousness and be aware of everything, but we still visit the 3D. So, you know, you can go and say, oh, you know, this is great. I'm in my moment in kumbaya and I love everybody. My heart is open. But for your heart to truly be open to universal love, it's at peace. There's no emotion involved in this. And this is something that's really hard for people to understand, because the love we feel is created by the response, the hormonal response, the oxytocin that we get that rushes through our body when we kiss or we hold hands or we cuddle our kids and, you know, bond. And that's just a pure physical response. So it's physical love that we're feeling, not universal love. You know, I think a lot about where I've come from and the things that I've done all have led me to this point, to becoming the person I am today, with the knowledge that I have. Now, granted, many of you have sat there and watched me roll my eyeballs over things like technology. We know that that's a tough one for me. But the fact of the matter is that I worked for a nonprofit, and now I'm creating a nonprofit. I was the financial director. I was the least liked person in the office. And do you know why? Because the financial person has control of everybody's money. Now, it wasn't their actual money. It wasn't their money to pay their bills, sort of. It was no, you can't have that. It's not in the budget. We don't get to buy out of the budget. We haven't made a surplus so that we can allocate funds to a different endeavor. Dealing with people with their expense reports. No, you didn't give me your receipts, so I can't give you a check. Well, you can trust me. No, I can't, because it's my job or it's your job. And that's one of the things that we really have to look at as our spiritual progression looks. It's our job to grow spiritually. It's not Mary's job over here or Sue's job over there, and Billy can't make me any better than I already am. It's me. What those three people do is show me aspects of myself that I need to let go of in order to come into a more peaceful life. I can do it, I can drag my feet and be difficult. I remember that executive director that I had when I was working as the financial director. She was pissed at me because I would not put $20,000 in the budget for postcard sales. Now, going back to the 90s, how was New Mexico going to raise $20,000 off of postcard sales? Back in those days, that's 10 cents a card. Well, we'd have to have paid her husband for his photographs. We were going to use all his photographs. And we were going to charge 10 cents a postcard, and we were going to put them in various places. But she had it allocated for the month of October, November, $20,000 to raise that money. Not throughout the year, which might have been more plausible. But you're not going to get a bunch of people to buy postcards for Christmas at 10 cents, not $20,000 worth. You know how many postcards you have to sell to make $20,000 off of 10-cent postcards? So she put it in. I refused to. I refused to take responsibility for that because had it gone wrong, I would have been blamed. And you know what? I can blame myself plenty of times. I do not need anybody else helping me. So there was a big struggle with that. And there was the struggle of, oh, we have some extra money for camp. Those were designated funds. I wouldn't let that happen either because I'm the one that goes to jail for that. When you allocate funds that are designated to another, that's illegal, highly illegal. So with that being said, learning those things that way brought me to the point that when Resonant Essentials receives our 501c3 status, I will have a better grasp and understanding about what's happening, and I can still be me, and I can still teach, and I can still do my work, but I'll understand better how the money needs to be allocated, how this has to happen, and what's, the legalities of the bylaws, and how to write grant money, and how to do all these things. With that being said, it started getting created back in the 90s, and in the 90s, I had a vision of a center for esoteric learning, for a metaphysics center, where some of the greatest minds in the world would come and teach, and people could be here, because Albuquerque was classified at that time, and I still think it is, one of the safest places to be if there were earth changes or if there were any kind of, we had the right vibration, we had the right energy in Albuquerque. People always say, oh, well, it's so negative here. If the energy doesn't fit with you, you're going to feel it as negative. Whereas for me, it's very peaceful. I never see violence. I hear about it occasionally, but I never see it, because that's not me. And that's what I mean by you taking me with you when you go. We have these things. So all of this has been, when I decided to go to work at that nonprofit, led me to this point here. I met the woman who became my mentor in metaphysics at that same nonprofit. She was a board member. And when she was a board member, she invited me, and we became friends, and she invited me to her church. And I told you guys this. I rolled my eyes. I'm like, really, you want me in church? Oh, stick my finger in an outlet. I'm done. So she laughed. She talked to me. She says, it's not that kind of church. So I agreed to go, and it was a strictly metaphysics church. It was an esoteric school is what it was, and they gave classes in the advanced levels of metaphysics. Well, actually, they were called basic philosophy, and I found out that you had to be a certain level of awareness to completely understand what they were in those days. And so I was very blessed to receive what they call basic, which now I'm finding out for many people is advanced information. And that's okay. So anyway, everything that I did by that one choice led me to this moment, and I'm happy about it. I love what I do. I love doing this. I love being me, more importantly. Now, there is those things that we live in and that we struggle with, is that we end up, if there's a problem and we find ourselves in conflict, we tell ourselves stories just to justify our actions. And those stories always make somebody else the bully. And I don't know why that is. I wonder why we don't see ourselves as bullies. We always see ourselves as victims. And, I got to tell you, I've been through courses where, perpetrator, victim, savior. You're going to play one of those three roles because that's what humanity does, is those three, that's the three rules. You're either the savior, you're the perpetrator, or you're the victim, and you can alternate those roles. Why I'm telling you all of this is because these are the tools that you need to start getting yourself out of this level of consciousness. Take, for example, when we do live in fear and blame others. Okay, this usually happens because we think we'll be punished, so we live in guilt and fear. And it's like, oh my God, well, where did that come from? The silent generation that got a hold of the boomers, who got a hold of the Gen Z and the Gen X and the millennials, and everybody's I see this all the time, blaming each other for look how bad I had it, and it's like, wow, when you were a caveman and you got eaten, was it bad then too? I mean, seriously, you've lived thousands of lives. What makes this worse than you had to stay home by yourself till mommy got home? That's silly. I'm not trying to diminish anybody's experiences. Understand this, that we have those traumas. Those traumas are there to trigger us into getting out of our 3D fears. When the worst of the worst happens to you, there's a piece to it. When everything that you absolutely feared could happen, happens, guess what? It's all up from there. Who you become, you remake yourself. And that's kind of why it's the dark night of the soul. Now, I know that we hit like little burps in the road that are like mini dark nights of the soul, that we think, oh, we'll never recover, and we do. But there's always that one, okay? So from that, that's how we quit living in fear, is hitting that one. Now, oftentimes the living in fear and blaming others comes from indoctrination. It comes from what we're taught in our school system, in our homes, and in religion, that somebody's got to take ownership of the broken vase. And if you didn't break it, like my dad whipped me because all three of my older sisters, they said, oh, I didn't break the dog's leg. I knew I hadn't. I hadn't even seen the dog that day. I got whipped for it, and my sister comes and tells me, I'm really sorry you got a spanking, but you know what? It was me that broke the dog's leg. And I was like, are you kidding? She has that much fear of being beat because that's the way we were corrupted. That's the way we were corrupted. And I'm not saying that was a good thing. I'm just saying it was a thing. It was a product of the times, and it was something that I bought into when I incarnated when I did. Now, when we have conflict, we always see our perspective. And somehow, we're either the savior or the victim. We're never the bully. We have done everything just right. I'm so sweet. I'm so nice and happy. I've never done anything wrong. When we see this happening, this becomes our story. And in that story, we remake that story over and over and over again. And once we become the victim, we then don't have to be accountable for our actions. We don't have to be accountable for anything. We don't have to be accountable for creating illness in our body. We don't have to be accountable for had to be, all the chemical processes of when they sprayed DDT up and down the streets. They used to spray the DDT at a point, and there was a lot of kids that were born September, October, November, where they developed brain tumors. And they found that the going up and down, it wasn't just DDT, but the spray trucks going up and down the roads and spraying was causing a lot of problems. Well, those children knew that's what they were incarnating for. Doesn't mean that they don't need our love. Doesn't mean they don't need our help. It just means they knew what they were getting into. But unfortunately, as soon as we incarnate, a lot of that memory of what we had planned gets kind of wiped away, and we are starting kind of from scratch, or at least, some of us have a level of awareness naturally, and if you sink down, you come up. If you, kind of like the bob and water of the lake. But our perspective is what makes or breaks our creative consciousness, our ability to start creating a better life for ourselves. Because if we realized that we brought those situations and those people in to help us grow spiritually, to help us unbelieve that we are only human, because we need to unbelieve that. I know it's supposed to be disbelief, but I like unbelief because it erases it. Disbelief, you kind of dismiss it to me. So unbelieving that we're only human, because we are much more than that. So we have to unbelieve just human aspects and understand and know we are these great spiritual beings of light and love. And understanding that, we will then love those people who we thought brought us trauma and drama and pain and anguish, because they're teaching us to really look, and they're there to help us get out of 3D. They're really there to help us. And if you want that conflict, and you set up for it, the person who engages that conflict, okay, they're engaging the conflict. It can only be one-sided if you don't engage it back. So there is no conflict if you don't engage it. If you approach any situation, I have a girlfriend who's down at a high school reunion that we have. No, I'm not going. It's a high school reunion, and there were some problems with some of the things that were going on. I said, let it go. Just go in with a smile on your face and say, hey, let's get after this, because somebody at that reunion is going to be frustrated, and they're going to be angry, and they're going to go in and they're going to make it worse. If they're drinking, they're going to go into conflict with other people, and that's not what we want to do. We want to make sure that any kind of conflict that's coming our way, we just surround ourselves with light, and we start bringing our energy down, breathing in, breathing out, just acknowledging that they have as much right to their opinion and their desires as we do. It does not have to be a battle. If the person chooses to make the battle, then they'll have to use it on somebody else's time, because you really don't need the drama. So if we realize this, then we can move past it. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about guilt, because I think guilt is what creates our fear, and then we blame. So if you have an agreement with somebody, your partner, your spouse, whoever lives in your house, that you're going to do all of the shopping, then you should honor that agreement, right? So let's say you didn't honor your agreement. and they ask you why you haven't been shopping, and your first response is, well, you didn't give me the list of the groceries we needed, you didn't clean out the refrigerator, and honestly, you know, you didn't bother to tell me where the money was so I could go shopping. To avoid that conflict, the only thing you had to do is go over, I see it's time for me to go to the grocery store. So, do you have the list? Do you want some help emptying what can we throw out of the refrigerator? And I got it this time, my money, I'll get it, we're good. If you approach it on an equal basis and reach out to the person, because, you know, they get busy too. Maybe they lost the list and they're madly recreating it. Maybe they left the list in the top drawer of their desk and they thought they gave it to you but didn't see it. We presume a lot of things that we put that onus on everybody else to make them responsible. Then we get real kind of comfortable and passive aggressive about it and say, well, you know, you didn't do this, so I'm not holding up my end of the bargain. Okay, well that would be like you coming and paying me money for a class and I forgot to show up. How upset would you be at that? Pretty upset, unless it was kind of life altering, you know, and that's our agreements as 90% of what we need to remember that we agreed to. That is a part of how we create our life. So usually we have to understand that those agreements to bring those people in, they're not just made verbally, they're made spiritually. You sent out a radar that says, hey, I need to learn that Reese's cups are really bad for me. They're going to make me sick. So somebody sends you a plethora of Reese's cups. And you eat them. And then you find out they're going to make you really sick. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like understanding you create your own situation. You create your own healing. Because all of this is about healing ourselves to higher consciousness. It's about not laying blame. I remember, you know, I told you guys I did the Weaving Faith where I wrote down in my book the things that I wanted to create for my world. And I wrote down that I had this great new car, and I had my back was healthy, you know, the herniated disc was all gone, and blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, my car that I loved gets totaled. I get a new car, and the insurance paid for me to go to the Rolfer and the chiropractor to fix my herniated disc. I could have done it a much simpler way had I been smart in what I was putting out consciously. I was consciously creating this book. And I still do it. I just am a little more cautious about the words that I use. So if we're creating our thoughts, it's through our vibration. It's what we, so don't go, oh, I just don't feel good. I must have caught a cold from my niece. Because you'll develop that cold. Because you thought it. You brought it in. You invited it through the door. I no longer invite in ill health. Refuse to. I don't have time for it. I laugh. When everything came out about COVID, I said, you know what, it's not going to get me because there's no way I'm going to get 2 weeks off to lay in bed with Netflix. You laugh, but it worked. Now, if we are in alignment with what our vibration says, which is doing our meditations, doing things to bring ourselves to higher states of consciousness, to create our world in a better way, if we're in alignment, we're going to connect and draw forth the good stuff. No more of the yucky drama stuff. Oh my gosh, who wants drama? Not me. So then we start moving in consciousness. Now, a lot of you might think that the way you judge a person's level of consciousness is by the spirit gifts that they hold. So if you see one person over here who is a I Ching reader. That's their tool, that's their gift. If you see somebody else over here who's a healer, that's their gift. But if the I Ching reader wants to learn the healing, they can. But they have to do it from a place that they really are doing it from integrity, not to make more money, because they might make more money healing, but they might lose their I Ching gift. This is oversimplifying it to a very big degree, so I apologize. It's kind of like, you know, you're supposed to have this person in your life, but this one will do because that one may be too much work, because you have to be at the same level of light and love. Well, if that's how you think, you're right. It's better off you leave the person who's got a high consciousness alone if you don't want to put forth the effort. If you want to put forth the effort to get your spirit gifts going and reaching, you study, you train, you earn, you cover the exercises, you let yourself grow. More importantly, you know you are doing it. You believe that you are doing it. You feel that you are doing it. You let your heart be open to universal creation, to consciousness, to unconditional love, and you will do it. But it's not, just because somebody has a gift does not mean that they're automatically on the railroad catching the next train to the next level. You know, sometimes they're just on a roller coaster, up and down and up and down and up and down. And sometimes they can be bottoming out. We are in a time that we're really struggling to make this conscious leap in creative consciousness. We're really working at trying to make it so it becomes an everyday part of us. So don't blame yourself if you don't get it right away, and don't blame others and think that they're not listening, or they should have done better for you, or they should have done something for you, because this is all on you. And that dark night of the soul, when you hit bottom, when you just hurt so bad inside and out that you have to check yourself at the door before you absolutely fold up in a little ball and puke yourself to death, that's a rough one. It's rough, it's hard. 3 years and counting. And I'm on the other side of it. I'm coming out the other end. I'm coming back to the truth of who I always was, and who I always knew I was. But sometimes you have to go down even further, because I'm going up even further. So I'm not just coming back to who I was, I'm going to be better. And I'm going to be greater than that, because I have work to do. I have lives to affect. I have people that I want to help. I have words to speak that might piss you off and hopefully trigger your own self-awareness that you are not just a physical being, a one and done. You have multiples of thousands of lives on your tail. How many times did we do the in-breath and out-breath of Rome? How many times that we expand in the universe just to come back? How many times in other universes? How many times in other lives on other planets? Opening up to that information helps you understand that the truth of who you really are, and you're not just this one and done. So it's the ego, the fear, and the people around you that will all play a part in how you rise or don't in consciousness. And this is, when we hit that dark night of the soul, this is your opportunity to let go of everything and everyone. It doesn't mean that you quit being with them. It means that you are out there and you are aware that they're there, and you love them for the powerful beings that they are, and you love them for the pain that they may be in, and you love them through it, and you love them for the pain they may have caused you, because it's hard. It's really hard. And none of us want to see somebody else suffer. When I hear somebody say, I want to see this person fall and their whole life, I think, boy, you're going to be here a long time, because how sad we are when we want revenge. We want evil to befall somebody else. I don't have the energy for that. That is so exhausting. That is so exhausting. It's as exhausting as holding a crown of victimhood on my head by saying, I can't do this because somebody done me wrong song. I just can't sing that song anymore. So what I want you to do is I want you to say to yourself, my ego is not me. My heart chakra is the doorway to the higher me. My heart is my way out of this endless loop that I keep playing for myself, bringing forth the same type of people over and over and over again. My heart is the key to expanding my world and understanding that I have gifts to give and love to share, and not be afraid of it. None of us should be afraid of it. So look at everyone in your life. I don't care what they've done to you. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. Love them. Love your enemy. Because they brought to you you. They showed you you're this fantastic being. Love them enough that you grow your light so big and bright that you're going to lead the way to higher consciousness, and they're going to be on that same train with you. Don't buy into all this. You know, when somebody keeps going the vaccine or the shots, you have to, you can't, they're inviting conflict. They're inviting conflict. Everybody who is done, you know, we're here, we have free will. It's our choice to believe what it is we need to believe. But whatever you believe, do it in love. Do it all in love. Because it doesn't matter what their choices are. That's their choices. We don't need to fight about it. We just need to love each other through it. And if they are angry at you, let them. Let them be angry. They might be getting ready for their own dark night of the soul. And if they are angry and hate you for whatever, it has nothing to do with you. Don't personalize it. You might be showing them something that makes them uncomfortable, but it's not your responsibility to fix it. So, my dear friends, I love each and every one of you. Think about it. I wish you much love and much happiness. My heart to yours. 5, and I'll see you on Wednesday. Oh, wait a minute. Rosie's going to be on. She's going to be interviewing me about, and that'll be on Monday. And then Brother Francis, myself, and Nikki Bruton Phillips will be together on Wednesday at 9 o'clock to talk about the program workshop that we're going to be doing with families. So, my heart to all of yours. You enjoy your day. Bye now.